Hi there, I'm Rex King. Welcome back to another episode of From the Archive. Today we're talking about the original 1954 Godzilla. So the original 1954 Godzilla was directed by Ishiro Honda. It was distributed by Toho Studios, and they also produced the film. The production and idea for this film actually is kind of a bit of a legend. There are a lot of people who like to believe that the idea of the film came from Ishiro Honda passing through Hiroshima and just taking in all the destruction from the atomic bomb. That is not true, as when he was going home from the war and passing through Hiroshima, he would have passed through the outside of it and wouldn't have seen the massive destruction. More than likely, the entire reason for this film's existence comes through a couple different ways and reasons. First and foremost, it probably has to do with the fact that after the war, the U.S. occupied most of Japan for a while, and they pretty much censored any information that was very negative towards the bomb or any type of atomic bomb radiation. They also made news coming out of Hiroshima and Nagasaki very difficult to get. So, after the occupation, it was only natural that several studios and several directors would want to take up that subject matter and make it their main point of their film. Another reason this film probably came about is the Lucky Dragon incident, which is about a boat called Lucky Dragon Number 5, which had several fishermen who got infected by radiation poisoning due to H-bomb testing, even though they were on the safe side of the barrier, and yet they still managed to get infected, and one died pretty close to when production of this film started. Caused a huge international incident between Japan and America, and started basically the discussion of how dangerous the H-bomb really could be. So, for whatever reason, this film was greenlit. And initially they wanted to do a lot of stop motion for the monster of Godzilla, especially since they took a lot of influence from Ray Harryhausen's Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. However, there wasn't a lot of stop motion artists in Japan in post-World War II, and it was considered to be very expensive and might have even been hugely time consuming. So they basically invented their own special effects called suitmation. This is basically the use of a suit actor. However, the suit was very heavy and uncomfortable for post-World War Japan because they didn't have the materials to make it properly. So the suit weighed over 200 pounds and had apparently was 200 degrees inside there almost, 120 or something along that lines. And it's amazing that the suit actor didn't die from overexertion in this very hefty outfit, very hot outfit as well. Haru Nakajima, who is the suit actor, deserves a huge amount of credit for what he did in this film, because of how much he went through. So with that, all that in place, the film was released back on November 3rd, 1954. Critics were mixed about the film on release. They didn't think it was the greatest thing ever and thought it was a giant monster movie, and that wasn't really all that interesting. However, fans really disagreed with them because this is one of Toho's most successful films to date, and spawned, well, I don't know if you noticed, one of the most successful franchises of all time. It's still going on today. We just got a Godzilla movie this year in Godzilla vs. Kong New Empire as of this recording. So yeah, this film is definitely considered to be a huge success. And later in life, critics would change their tunes, stating that it took a very tough subject matter and tackled it head on. With all that said, what do I think about the original Godzilla film? As I have the Godzilla -1 poster right behind me, so I really don't think that that's a question that should be asked of me, but still, I will answer it. So the original Godzilla is pretty much a story about how a dinosaur from prehistoric time awakens due to a H-bomb testing and basically starts running rampant all over Japan. And it seems like nothing can stop him, except for maybe the invention by Dr. Zirazawa, played by Akiko Hirata. I apologize if I mispronounced that name. And he and pretty much that's the only thing that seems like it could stop Godzilla, but it also could maybe have long-lasting consequences if used incorrectly. So, yeah, I'm going to be as vague as possible because if you haven't seen this film, you should definitely watch it. In fact, I don't know why you're watching this review, but I'm going to not give any spoilers for those of you who do want to check this film out. That being said, the film definitely is different than modern day Godzilla movies for the most part, as modern day Godzilla movies seem more focused on the destruction and devastation that Godzilla himself causes. This one focuses more on, well, the morals of what woke Godzilla up, and pretty much the idea of Godzilla is a force of nature. He's not the one who is responsible for all this damage and destruction. That is human arrogance by believing that we are above everything by testing the H-bomb out and believing that we're above the consequences of such a powerful weapon, and that we couldn't see this coming even though the H-bomb is devastating. I mean, the H-bomb wakes Godzilla up. Godzilla just doesn't wake up one day and decides he's going to destroy Japan. No, he's just awoken and is very aggravated by the fact that he is now scarred and is now basically irradiated. And this is shown through a lot of different scenes, as in most films nowadays, Godzilla's destruction is shown as something we eat popcorn to. We don't really think much about it. But in this film, the devastation is quite nerve-wracking and quite somber. Like, we really have to take it all in. It's really a fascinating take on what could have been a stereotypical monster movie. I really enjoyed that. And the direction it goes and the ideas that it tries to convey, especially through its ending, which I will not talk about, is really quite creative for the movie of its time. It's no wonder that this film still stands the test of time as far as story is concerned. Now, the characters are less than interesting. In fact, for most of the runtime, I really couldn't tell who the main character was supposed to be. Until about the halfway point when we finally get into, like, the professor who wants to not kill Godzilla and study him and his family. And then we meet Dr. Shirazawa, and we kind of get some characters that we are supposed to care about, but they're just not that interesting, to be honest. But the film really is focusing on what's happening with Godzilla and what type of destruction he's leaving in his wake. It's not really focusing on any characters in particular. Now, the visuals are always going to be an interesting discussion, as yes, the visuals haven't quite aged that well. So to approach this film, I kind of approached it from the angle of, well, what did they have in 1954? And does this film manage to do a lot with very little resources? And in my opinion, I still think the destruction still holds up this film conveys, and I really like a lot of the suit acting. Now, that being said, some of the suit design is a little hit or miss, especially around the eyes, which can be a little derpy on close inspection. That being said, I don't think it really ruins the film. I think the visuals still hold up, and the destruction is still something to behold, and I really enjoyed that. Now, the real standout here is the music score done by Akira Ifukube. Again, I more than likely mispronounced that name. And his score is brilliant. He actually also did the roar for Godzilla. He did this by taking coarse gloves and rubbing out a double bass. For Godzilla's footsteps, he takes a knotted rope and bangs a kettle drum. It's some very inventive ways to convey some very dramatic sounds, and sounds that we just hadn't heard before, as this is the first time we would hear Godzilla in a film, and it just worked. It worked. And the music score and Godzilla's theme are still being used today for a very good reason. Ifukube's score is honestly the most iconic part of this film, in my opinion. I could listen to it for hours on end. I really enjoyed it, and the sound design overall in this film deserves a lot of credit. At the end of the day, it's no wonder why 1954 Godzilla stands the test of time and why it's considered to be a classic. Now, is it the best Godzilla movie? No. It's not. It is still a great movie, and you definitely should check it out. But we have done pretty well at Godzilla films after this, and I don't think this film is the best. I definitely think it's definitely a good, great movie that definitely deserves to be talked about, however. I have the Criterion Collection. Um, and this has a ton of special features, including a bunch of cast interviews about the special feature effects, interview about from a film historian who talks about kind of how it impacted on Japan and where Japanese society impacted the film overall. I really enjoy the Criterion Collection, and this film has a lot of special features that deserve to be checked out. So if you're going to buy a copy, I definitely recommend buying this one. And anyway, that's my opinions on Godzilla. If you've seen it and have a different opinion or have an opinion you want to state, list it in the comments below. I would like to hear from you guys. Anyway, if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. And, well, next time, we're going to be taking a look at AI. See you then.